What does $1.5 trillion actually look like? It's not sitting in a vault, reeking of cash. It fits perfectly into a hurried signature and a single tweet powerful enough to shake the global chessboard. The moment the Pentagon machine fires up, the budget chart skyrockets. Deep underground, command posts are already in position, a new game with brand new rules. Colossal fleets cut through the waves, flexing their muscle. But the real truth lies behind closed-door documents. Some jokingly say they should just rename the Department of Defense to the Department of War, and up above, cold, calculating satellites are recording every single move. A perfect act, toasting and laughing at glamorous diplomatic banquets, followed immediately by calculated, closed-door meetings. The man in charge steps off Air Force One with the posture of an unrivaled king. The crisp applause under waving flags covers up a glaring truth. Zoom out on this 16:9 geopolitical battlefield. The real enemy isn't blinking on that global map out there. It's right here in the heart of America. The threats, the roaring armored vehicles, the angry crowds, and the supposedly unshakable symbols are witnessing a brutal, unprecedented polarization. Fervent crowds cheer for an ideal, turning a blind eye to the desperate masses clinging to the roof of a death train. Occasionally, throwing in a high-profile arrest serves as the perfect scapegoat to distract the public eye, a proud raise of the fist. When power is measured in ammo and hard cash, sky-filling military parades are just the most expensive marketing campaigns on Earth. With just the stroke of a pen, the money counters run until they smoke. The Pentagon never sleeps when mountains of dollars are flooding in, bending every single rule. Press conferences, just a smokescreen. Documents are signed again. The applause roars again. Notice the ironic loop here. The arsenal paraded in the daylight is just there to protect the handshakes in the dark room. That document held high isn't a law. It's a silent declaration of war. Patience burns out as fast as missiles leaving the launch pad. Fire, heavy artillery is pushed to the front lines. There is no turning back now. The radar's eye tears through the silence of the desert. Inside megafactories, the war machine operates at 200% capacity. With every bullet loaded, thousands of dollars evaporate into the void. Deep below, the shadow fleet surfaces, while up above, drone ghosts lie in wait to hunt. The velvet curtain has been pulled back, and the Game of Thrones is about to get truly bloody. The sky isn't the limit, it's just the next stage. Ghostly UAVs slice through the wind, carrying a payload of cold missiles fresh off the assembly line. The sky in this 16:9 frame has never felt this suffocating. Beneath the ocean surface, steel monsters emerge, bringing unspeakable secrets. Anonymous briefcases of cash are smuggled through the shadows, pumping direct lifeblood into cutting-edge fighter factories and feeding the fleet that rules the seas. What is the real price of peace? It's probably listed in dollars. Back to the desk, where ruthless decisions are signed off lightly, a silver briefcase cracks open. Mountains of cash will quickly transform into mega shipyards. A wheel of power that cannot be stopped. The word transform here carries the heavy weight of human lives. Where does the money flow? To the ranks of soldiers standing at attention, to the field tents and military bases blazing through the pitch-black night. A grand, majestic picture, yet it reeks of gunpowder. Don't let those neatly stacked files fool you. While a head of state rants on the podium, outside, tanks are rolling down the streets. Politicians are still arguing, But the reality of the battlefield always writes its own script. The handshake for the cameras is just a social play. The real plot twist happens at the closed-door roundtable, where the MAGA movement is quietly redesigning the world order. Hurried footsteps echoing down the White House hallways point straight to a massive ambition: scrapping and redrawing the entire map of South America. The ghost of the past rushes back when former President Reagan's image is borrowed in interviews. Today's message on the podium becomes sharper than ever. The crowd below cheers wildly again. But are they hailing a great America or applauding an expanding empire? Amidst the suffocating hall, there are calculating frowns. Factional internal meetings are now as sharp as knife blades, leaving absolutely no room for the faint. The rising wave of protests only paves the way for calculations at the ballot box. Loyalty is sometimes measured by stacks of cash quickly split under the shadow of the American flag. Politics, after all, is it just a giant casino with legal rules? The polished presentation paints a brilliant vision at the polling station, deceiving even the sharpest eyes. The press is busy hunting for news, steering public opinion, but behind the scenes, the weapons factory keeps forging iron day and night. The whole truth is deliberately buried under a mess of paperwork. That same desk of absolute power. But on the other shore, streams of migrants are exhausted just trying to survive. A suffocating contrast between the smug display of a new law and the surrounding destitution. Who is that towering capital really protecting? Classified files are passed around in the dark, and their final destination is the solemn courtroom. Which way will the scales of justice tip when the weights are now cast in gold and stained with power? Look at this irony. Lives are fought for second by second in the operating room, but their fate is sometimes decided by the movement of armored vehicles on the battlefield. Soulless money on the Wall Street ticker flashes by, while microscopic chips are meticulously assembled to control the war machine. A naked truth exposed sharply right in the middle of this cinematic lens. Friendly handshakes full of smiles for the cameras, but behind the doors of the grand boardroom, everything takes on the color of ruthless trade-offs. Documents are picked up and put down. Decisions are finalized under the dome of the Capitol, ending with a cold signature. Have you ever wondered who truly pays the price for these signatures? The stealth fleet cuts through the waves, flexing its muscles as living proof of the grand promises made on the podium. The roaring applause from the crowd below. Indeed, that is the ultimate addictive sound of power. Holding a stack of dollars, one can buy a new gun, or even fund an entire war. Around the dark round table, group interests are divided evenly. Meanwhile, the people out there can only hold desperate signs, screaming into the void at intersections. Glistening epaulets huddle together. The whispers of the military top brass sometimes carry more weight than encyclopedias on politics. A grand military parade isn't just for show. It's to remind the world who holds the keys to legal violence. The halo on the podium is traded for the devastating, destructive power of missiles leaving the launch pad. And to maintain that bloody trajectory, secret negotiations happen continuously. Up high, state-of-the-art tech labs are weaving a global surveillance satellite network. No one can stay invisible. The military heart of the Pentagon beats in rhythm with the footsteps of perfectly aligned, marching soldiers. But remember, the real weapons of this century aren't just guns and ammo. They hide in massive data server centers, where your information, and mine, becomes the most valuable strategic resource. A general's rare moment of rest is instantly shattered by relentless questions from a pack of media wolves. Standing under the flag, every word uttered is calculated to the millimeter. Down those pristine white hallways, silence is sometimes the answer that deals the most damage. Decisive footsteps cut through a sea of flashing camera lights. Standing before tens of thousands of troops, a restrictive order is signed without a second of hesitation. The crowd roars once again. A perfect, endless cycle of psychological manipulation. A finger traces a map as stacks of documents pile up. Eyes lock onto the Caribbean, where Cuba faces the shadow of a supercarrier fleet. The cabinet meets once more. A new geopolitical chess game begins. This time, who becomes the pawn? The night erupts in protests, shattered glass, and violence. By morning, only empty streets remain. Yet, on distant military bases, soldiers continue marching beneath the flag. A powerful empire stands, tall, but for how much longer? The gaze shifts from Greenland's frozen map to the torch of the Statue of Liberty. Liberty or expansion? From above, the contradiction has never looked clearer. Billions in public debt are counted at the top, while workers scrape together spare change below. The result? Empty classrooms and fading opportunities. Is the future being sacrificed for military ambitions? Money printers run non-stop, transforming paper into warships and weapons factories. The military-industrial machine grows stronger by the day. Prosperity for some, but it smells of gunpowder. Rows of soldiers salute with pride, while demands for basic rights echo in the background. Beyond the ceremonies lie endless white tombstones. Greatness has a cost, but who ultimately pays it? Another contract is signed. While elites celebrate under bright lights, expanding slums tell a different story. Two worlds exist side by side, pulling the same nation apart. An iconic statue collapses into dust. Tanks roll forward, marking the beginning of a new chapter in history. The lights fade. Have you seen through the game of power yet? The truth is often harsher than any script.